Hi everyone, I'm Karen from the Peace Discipline channel, where you can learn all about non-violent discipline. Today's video is the last in a series on what not to do in discipline, and we will be looking at scare tactics, why these are not constructive, and what non-violent discipline tools we can use instead. This video will be relevant to parents or anyone who cares for or works with children. What are scare tactics? In previous videos, we have already covered fear-based methods like threatening children or using corporal punishment. So today I'm going to focus on a different way of using fear, which is to try to control children's behavior by exaggerating danger or telling a scary lie. Come away from there, that dog is going to bite you. He is going to bite you. Or, do you see that policeman over there? That policeman is going to come over here and see that you are not wearing your seatbelt, and he's going to arrest you and put you in jail. Or an even worse one that I heard, that policeman is going to come and arrest me, your mother, because you are not wearing your seatbelt, and I will go to jail and you will never see me again. Is that what you want? Don't open that. There's a horrible thing in there, a horrible thing. It's going to come out and give you a big fright. Or, each time you tell a lie, some of your hair will fall out. Or someone once shared an even worse one. If you tell a lie, your father will die. In each of these examples, the adult is using a scare tactic. They are using fear to try to control the child or to coerce them into doing what they want them to do. What is wrong with doing this? Firstly, children need to feel safe with us. We need to be the people they can come to if they need reassurance and comfort, not the source of their fear. Secondly, children copy us. They imitate us, so we need to be careful what we model. Most of us are unhappy when children lie or exaggerate danger in order to control or manipulate others. So it follows that we should not use these methods ourselves. Thirdly, sooner or later, children will realize that you are exaggerating or telling lies in order to scare them, and they will start to trust you less or take you less seriously in future. Your child's trust in you is a precious and beautiful thing. Think about how you would feel to lose that. Fourthly, scare tactics often don't work. Considering it's not a very effective method, I would feel it's not worth it to risk important things like your child's sense of safety, their trust in you, or your good example as a role model. So what can we do instead of using scare tactics? Let's take each of the examples I've just mentioned and look at tools that the adult could have used instead. In our first example, come away from there, that dog is going to bite you. He's going to bite you. Now, if you really think the dog is going to bite your child, step in to protect them. Take their hand and lead them a safe distance away from the dog, or remove the dog to where it can't bite your child. But if you're exaggerating and saying this because you're trying to control your child's behavior, there are better things that you can do. If you're worried that your child is going too close to the dog, don't exaggerate the threat to control the child's behavior. Rather, give your child useful guidance about being with the dog. How close is too close? What is a safe distance? And, if appropriate, how can they touch, stroke, or pat the animal in a way that doesn't antagonize it? It's okay to tell children that dogs can bite, but this should be accompanied by useful guidance about how to avoid this. That dog is going to bite you doesn't give any useful guidance, it just adds fear. In our second example, do you see that policeman over there? If you don't put your seatbelt on, that policeman's going to come over and arrest you or arrest me. Here, the likely reaction of the police officer is exaggerated to scare the child into putting their seatbelt on. Now, wearing a seatbelt in the car is very important for safety, but using fear to get the child to do it is completely unnecessary. There are plenty of other ways to do this. Here are some suggestions. You could say, if all the seatbelts are fastened by the time I count to 3, I'm going to tell you a joke. Or you could make it worth it in some other way. I can remember saying to 3 young children in the back of the car, can you guys do maths? Yes, they said. If I give you some numbers to add together, Will you be able to do that? Yes. Okay, let's play a math game. As soon as I hear everybody's seatbelt click, we can start. Almost immediately, I heard 3 seatbelts click. It was great. And so I started with, right, so what is 2 plus 5? And they had so much fun just adding numbers. The principle here, in these 2 examples, you're working with a child's motivation rather than their fear. Another way to do this is to use your when-then statement. When your seatbelt is fastened, then we can go. Or when I hear your seatbelt click, I will play your story or I will play your music. You could also say that the music or story would only keep playing if the seatbelt stayed on. You're using their motivation, setting up the environment so that it puts the child in the best position to behave well and to do what you're asking. There are other options. I've sometimes heard parents talk about very serious resistance towards wearing a seatbelt, and they may need to do something more firm, saying only children who wear their seatbelts can come on this outing. In order to come on this outing, you need to be responsible enough to fasten your seatbelt and leave it on for the entire trip. Can you manage that? Of course, if you take this course of action, you need to think about what you will do if the child does not comply. Because if there's serious seatbelt resistance, you may find that the child tests you by taking it off, in which case you would need to be prepared to turn around, take them home, and leave them with a sitter. Now, if you're wondering, but doesn't that qualify as a scare tactic? You may find it helpful to watch the video I made before called Are You Being Containing or Coercive? Because there is a very real difference between the two. The difference between being containing or coercive, a consequence like this, and a scare tactic is that the child has a choice and you are actually not trying to control that choice. You are assessing whether they can manage and then taking the stated action. You are not trying to control their choice with fear. Another option shared by parents who were dealing with quite serious seatbelt resistance, they rigged up a harness on their child's car seat, which the child could not unclip by themselves. So they reduced the child's freedom to unclip their seatbelt, but appropriately so because the child was not managing to keep their seatbelt on, and obviously they needed to for their safety. There are more options, but I think these illustrate the point. Requiring children to wear seatbelts is part of being appropriately demanding as a parent, but we don't need to use scare tactics to get them to do it. Our third example, don't open that, there's something horrible inside. It's going to come out and give you a big fright. Would this have the desired effect? I think in some cases it might make the child feel even more curious about what's in the container. It might add an extra thrill. But observing the young child in this situation, what I saw was that they seemed a bit uncertain, sort of disoriented, as if they were wondering, why is my grandmother saying this? Things just didn't add up. Their gut feeling was probably saying that there's nothing dangerous in the container, but their grandmother's words were not matching that. The moment you lie, you create distance between yourself and the child. For the child, something doesn't feel right. Something doesn't feel true. Situations like that do not help children to trust us. So what could this grandmother do differently? I'm going to suggest that she could ask clearly for what she wants. She could say, I don't want you to open that. Or, please leave that container closed. It mustn't be opened. Then she could watch the child to see if they can manage being close to that container and not opening it. If they make another move to open it, she could remove the container and put it in a safe place out of reach. This would be a logical action on her part based on the fact that the child is not managing having the container and not opening it. The fourth example, if you tell a lie, all of your hair will start to fall out. Or if you tell a lie, your father will die. Scary. In both of these cases, the parent is contradicting the very message they are trying to send. They are trying to make the child scared of lying by using lies. They're modeling the exact opposite of what they're trying to teach and contradicting their own values in the process. So what can we do instead to teach our children about lying? Firstly, we need to make sure that we are modeling our values and not using lies to get what we want. Children copy us. You can't blame a child for lying if you often lie to them. Secondly, children are more likely to tell us the truth if they feel safe with us. So make sure you are not using fear-based methods of discipline like corporal punishment or shaming and humiliation or threats. Thirdly, talk openly with your children about trust and about lying. Show them how, when somebody lies, we have to increase checking and monitoring because we are no longer sure if we can trust what they say. You might say to a child, right now you have my trust, and that's a precious thing. If you lose that trust by lying, you would have to build it up again step by step. Each time I would check and find that you told the truth, a little bit more trust would build, but it would take a long time, and it would be better not to break the trust in the first place. You might say to a teenager, the amount of freedom you currently have matches the trust that we have in you. If we were to find out that you have been lying or doing dangerous things, we would need to change the amount of freedom we give you because you are showing us that you do not handle that freedom. You are showing us that we cannot trust what you say you're going to do. A fourth option would be to use a remedial story. Remedial stories can be very useful to teach children about lying. Perhaps you tell a story in which a character tells a lie, and the story could beautifully illustrate the consequences of that lie, such as that the lie started a bad feeling, which got heavier and heavier the longer that they didn't tell the truth, or that one lie led to another and another as they tried to cover up the first lie. The story could also show the consequences once people found out about the lie, such as that others stopped trusting the character who lied. In each of the examples used in this video, the adult is trying to stop the child doing something they shouldn't do or get them to do something that they should do, but the method they are using, scare tactics, has undesirable effects. Using scare tactics makes children feel less safe, undermines their trust in us, and sets a bad example. So let's stop this unconstructive practice and use more effective tools instead. That's all for now. I'll be back soon with more on nonviolent discipline. Press like if you found this video helpful and don't forget to subscribe. If you would like to find out more about nonviolent discipline, you can visit the Peace Discipline website at peacediscipline.com and have a look at the research or the toolkit. Resources such as these videos and the toolkit are free to promote safer environments for children, so please share them with anyone who would find them helpful. Thanks for watching.